Doctor, I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you expect.
Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bigger on the Inside, the New Who Doctor Who Watch Along podcast. It's me, Tim Saxby. Hello. Harry's also here. Hello, Harry.
Hello.
How you doing, Harry?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I've got horrific toothache. Thanks for asking.
Oh. What about your claws? Do you have any clawache as well?
No. Oh, very good. Oh yeah.
Too bad you didn't have toothache last week, because that would have been a great transition.
It is. I chipped a tooth, and I've knocked a filling, so the right side of my mouth is in agony. Doctor Who news all the time. Never stop. Don't stop rocking. That's my new thing. I said it a few weeks ago with Harrison. I'm going to say it all the time now.
Great.
It's a new catchphrase. We'll put it on a t-shirt. First thing I want to say is that for those of you who are subscribed to the YouTube channel, you won't have noticed this because you will have already listened to the Daniel Evans interview. But I forgot to put it out on the iTunes feed in December. But it's out now, so you will have all, if you are subscribed, which you should be, shouldn't they, Harry? They should be subscribed to the podcast feed.
They should be subscribed. Absolutely. And Daniel's a great interview. I've listened to it, and he was absolutely great to have on.
Oh, it was really good fun. Maybe in the future we can have him on again. But yeah, definitely go listen to that. But actual Doctor Who news. Do you want to go with whatever you've got first, Harry?
Yeah. This one is a small one, but it's still a significant one, which is that that there has been an announcement of 7 new Doctor Who stories.
Was it 7?
Yeah, 7 Doctor Who stories are going to, for the first time, be adapted, well, to my knowledge, for the first time, going to be adapted into Target books, novelizations. There's some Classic Who, there's some New Who, and I think, my understanding is that they are all being adapted, at least in part, by the writers of the original stories, which is interesting. So it's a very similar thing to when Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat did novelizations of Rose and Day of the Doctor.
Yeah. Have you read any of those?
I haven't read any of them, but my understanding is that they always kind of expand upon the original stories. They always kind of add extra juicy details.
Yeah,
I don't know whether or not they're.
I picked up.
I don't know whether or not they're considered.
Go for it.
I don't know whether or not kind of the details they add are considered canon or not, but they it always seems kind of quite intriguing, the stuff that they add.
I picked up the Day of the Doctor, and it doesn't start with the Day of the Doctor. It starts with the Night of the Doctor, the Paul McGann mini episode.
Oh, really? Cool.
So it's sort of an inclusion. And to be fair, I never finished it, but yeah, it was all right. I enjoyed it. What I read. So there's Dalek, Resurrection of the Daleks, Revolution.
Go through them.
Yeah, you go for it. Yeah.
I'm going to go through them in the order. I think these are the order of the Doctors. So first of all, there's the 4th Doctor story, The Pirate Planet, originally by Douglas Adams, and he's credited along with James Goss, who I'm guessing is the guy who has mostly done the novelization. Then there is Resurrection of the Daleks. It is Resurrection of the Daleks, a 5th Doctor story by Eric Saward, or is it Saward?
I like Saward.
It's more fun to say.
Yeah.
Then there is Revelation of the Daleks. A lot of Dalek stories.
Yeah.
Again, Eric Saward. Maybe this is a 6th Doctor story. Was Eric Saward, was he just the guy in charge of kind of a lot of Dalek stories in the 80s?
Shall I have a look? You keep talking, I'll have a
look. Next up, interestingly, is Doctor Who, the TV movie, written by Gary Russell. I find it interesting that even though it's a book of the TV movie, the book is still called Doctor Who, the TV movie.
I would love them to do actually pick a name for that. Give it a name.
what do you call it? Like kind of, I don't know, something about the Master, because the Master doesn't normally have his name in the title of stories about the Master, does he?
No, Gary Russell is a British freelance writer. He's done a lot of Doctor Who novels.
Okay. Did he write the original TV movie? Maybe he did,
I don't
maybe he
think so.
didn't.
No.
I remember I saw I think it was kind of a thing before the 2005 series started, where Russell said that he considered the TV movie to have some of the best dialogue that had ever been written for Doctor Who up to that point.
Oh, cool. Well, when we get round to it, we'll definitely have to do it again.
I saw it years ago on TV. Next up is Dalek by Robert Sherman.
Dalek.
Which, Dalek. It's got Christopher there looking very sad on the cover, along with a Dalek. They've got very cool kind of pop arty covers. They're very cool.
I thought the covers looked great.
I'm intrigued by Dalek because I'd be interested to see what could be added to what is one of, if not my favorite Doctor Who story. Then there is, interestingly, there's no 10th Doctor story, but there is the 11th Doctor story, The Crimson Horror, adapted by Mark Gatiss.
Yeah.
I wonder why of all of his stories he chose to adapt that one.
I don't know. What other stories? Unicorn and the Wasp is 10th, isn't it? Is that the only 11th Doctor story he's done?
Mark Gatiss didn't do Unicorn and the Wasp. That was
Did he not?
Gareth Roberts. That was Gareth Roberts, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course it was, yeah. Oh, no, I'm thinking of what's the one with Dickens? Unquite Dead.
Oh, The Unquite Dead. Or you
Yeah.
could have done The Idiot's Lantern.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can't think of another 11th
Interesting.
Doctor story he's done.
And then there's no 12th Doctor story, but there is The Witchfinders by Joy Wilkinson, the 13th Doctor story, which I believe is the first 13th Doctor story to get any kind of novelization.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. I know a lot of people are excited about that. I must just backtrack on what I said. Victory of the Daleks, The Good Man Goes to War, Night Terrors, The Wedding of River Song, Cold War, Crimson Horror are all Mark Gatiss episodes for the 11th Doctor.
I mean, I guess he wouldn't want to do Victory of the Daleks because there's already 3 Dalek stories being done. So
The
that
Good
makes
Man Goes
sense.
to War. Which one's that?
Is that an 11th Doctor story?
Yeah, all the ones I just mentioned are 11th Doctor. I do not remember this episode. Oh, yeah, I do. It's like a big climactic one, yeah.
Is that the one like the series, the first part of series 6 ended with?
A Good Man Goes to War is the 7th episode of the mid-series final of series 6 of Doctor Who, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one with the big reveal.
Yeah, and then he did
About
Night
River Song,
Terrors,
yeah.
which is the one where they get shrunk into that little house. And
Oh, yeah, that's a fun one.
The Wedding of River Song, Cold War, which is an Ice Warriors one. That one would have been cool, but maybe they've recently done an Ice
Wait,
Warriors.
Did Mark Gatiss help write The Wedding of River Song?
No, he just wrote it. Oh, wait, no.
He wrote it
No, he was an actor in it. Sorry, I'm just looking at a list here. Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering because I was sure Moffat wrote that.
No, yeah.
Moffat wrote all the finales.
Yep. You are right. Sorry. My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sound good. I'm always more inclined to read them the more they announce. I'm like, oh, they must be good if they keep publishing them.
And there's clearly an audience for them because, I mean, I don't know if there were ones before Rose and David Doctor, but this is like a big, boost to that kind of.
Well, the target book range was
novelization thing.
huge during like the wilderness years when there was no Doctor Who. I know Moffat wrote for it, Gatiss and Russell did as well. I remember when I spoke to Johnny Morris, I think there was a meeting and he was like, oh, I've seen, like, I know all these, like, I know Moffat's names and I know Stephen's name because of like the target book range.
Yeah.
And Paul Cornell as well, when something that we're working on at the moment is cancelled Doctor Who stories, and a few of his target ones almost made it to the big screen. So
I see.
yeah.
Interesting.
In other news, Bradley Walsh has been talking about John Bishop. Doctor Who's Bradley Walsh reacts to John Bishop replacing him on the show from Digital Spy. Let me quickly find a quote. Well, actually, I've spoken to Bish a few times. Bishy is a pal of mine.
Bishy.
Bishy.
He calls him Bishy.
And he is going
That's
to be
cute. That's
and he's
cute.
going to do fantastically well. Bish is a fine actor. he has worked with Ken Loach and everyone, so Bish knows exactly what he's doing. He's worked with Ken Loach? When the hell did John Bishop do that?
I honestly couldn't say. To be honest, I remember back in kind of earlier 2010s, I was a big fan of John Bishop and all his stand-up, but he kind of, I don't, does he still do stand-up? It feels like he sort of fell off. He stopped doing that.
Yeah, not so much like televised, I don't think. You know, like Michael McIntyre.
Yeah.
You don't seem
Did
to
he kind of move more towards acting work, or is it just?
Well, I've seen him. I saw him. I think it was his Supersonic tour I went and saw with my dad, and that was great. Root Irish, a 2010 drama thriller. Apparently, John Bishop was in, directed by Ken Loach, screenplay by Paul Cavalier. Yeah, so there you go. Maybe if people want to go and see John Bishop actually acting, they should check that out.
Was he in Fresh Meat?
I don't know. I don't think so. I've only seen a few episodes of Fresh Meat.
I feel like I read his autobiography way back when, and I remember him talking about being on set for a show, and I want to say it was Fresh Meat, but I have no idea if that's correct or not.
Let's have a quick look. Fresh Meat. Fresh Meat, Jack Whitehall. John Bishop saved my student. Oh, I think maybe he wrote for it, perhaps.
Okay.
John Bishop saved my student comedy night. Oh. So maybe not. The first night we did, our headliner pulled out, so I frantically called round to find replacements. Someone gave me the name of a stand-up based up north that I'd never heard of. Oh, fair enough. So there is a connection there with Jack Whitehall, but it's not through Fresh Meat. Bradley Walsh said...
Okay, that might be where I got messed.
Yeah. Bradley Walsh...
why I got it mixed up.
He is a fine actor and funny dude. I just hope that he can get some funny lines in, because when you are my age, when you are our age, forgive me, when you are our age on the show, you get a chance to do some quirky quips. So hopefully he'll get away with a few of those. So yeah, he's all up for John Bishop replacing him on Doctor Who. Well, it's not replacing him really, is he? Otherwise, you could basically say Bradley Walsh replaced Carol Ann Ford. Way back from 1963.
Everyone's just a replacement. I mean, they never really, they never refer to the companions as replacements, do they? Except, did Rose consider? Was the Rose Sarah Jane thing? Did Sarah Jane ever refer to Rose as a replacement?
I'm not sure. I think Rose referred to Sarah. I think Rose thought she had replaced Sarah Jane, but Sarah Jane didn't think Rose had replaced her.
Did Rose at any point refer to Martha as a replacement when she came back for?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think by that point maybe Rose had already realised that people had previously travelled with the Doctor.
Yeah.
But doesn't Donna, when she first boards the TARDIS in Runaway Bride, she finds Rose's shirt for some weird reason. The Doctor's left Rose's shirt hanging around, and she gets a bit creeped out by that, doesn't she?
Yeah, and I feel like the whole kind of referring to it as a replacement happens more with the actual Doctors. I know that in the Three Doctors, William Hartnell referred to Pertwee and Troughton as his replacements.
Yeah.
The Dandy and the Clown.
These impressions, they just keep building.
Each one worse than the last.
Is that all you can say, though, as the first Doctor?
I've not really done much, you know. First Doctor, my dear.
Well, later on this year, when we get to do the 5 Doctors, you'll be able to up your...
I'll try out my Richard... Was his name Richard Turnbull? Or
Richard Herring. No, not Richard Herring. That's the comedian. Doctor Who, Richard... do not know. I'm having a quick look. We need to hire someone who can just like...
We need to hire like a fact checker, yeah.
Yeah, like a researcher who just sits in the corner. We need
a tin dog to feed the facts into our ears.
Richard Hurdle.
Hurdle, that's it.
What did you say? Richard...
Turnbull?
Just make someone up. Oh, Richard Turnbull.
Well, I wasn't for that laugh.
Church. He works at the Church of England, Richard Turnbull. So there you go. Maybe one day he will be Doctor Who.
He's a guy. We could have him on.
Harry,
Would
don't
you like to
blink.
play the Doctor?
Don't blink. Because behind you, it's a weeping angel. They're back. They're back everywhere. They're coming out the sea. Don't stop. Never stop rocking. The weeping angels. Hey, they're back.
I thought we already did a news bit about the Weeping Angels being back.
Yeah, but not everybody might.
Even more.
Not everybody would have seen that, so we're like updating them now.
Are you sure? You put Jodie in a red circle in the thumbnail. I'm sure people will have seen it.
I said put a weeping angel in a red circle. Thank you very much.
No, I said Jodie and a red circle. I'm also you threw David Tennant in there for some reason, even though the news wasn't really.
He's in there.
And you were like, "Is David Tennant coming back?" Well, not for a one-off Weeping Angel story, Tim.
What I like about that is people obviously 90% of the people watching that video understand that what I'm saying in there is the fact that in a comic book run, David Tennant's Doctor and Jodie Whittaker's Doctor met
really milking that, aren't you, Tim?
over
really
a Weeping Angel story, and I said perhaps they will link it somehow. It's possible there is a pre-existing story. It's probably not going to happen. Is also what I do say. But you still get people going.
The continuity. I just heard the continuity of that comic book is going to be ruined now because Jodie and the fam encountered a Weeping Angels. But I imagine when they appear on the show, Yas is going to have to act like she's never met the Weeping Angels before, even though according to the comics, Yas has already had a run-in with them. So that sucks to the Titan comics.
What do you think for Weeping Angels returning? All aboard or everybody off ship? Everybody abandoned ship. On board or abandoned ship?
It's a weird one because really up to this point, the Weeping Angels, well, they are and they have always been Stephen Moffat's baby. He invented them and there hasn't been a single Weeping Angel story that hasn't had him as the writer. So this is going to be the first.
Actually, you're forgetting Revelation of the Daleks, when a doctor meets one of the Weeping Angels in prison.
Okay. Well, we know Chibnall can write a Weeping Angel for one shot of a show, but this is like a whole episode. Yeah. This is the first Weeping Angel story not written by Moffat, and that's interesting. Obviously, Blink is incredible, excellent, like one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, and subsequent Weeping Angels episodes have varying receptions. But I feel like generally they're all pretty good. I like all of them. So I'm just interested. I'm just interested who's going to write this Weeping Angel story and just how they're going to handle it.
Yeah. So
are you going to try and?
Are you all aboard or everybody off ship? What are you, all aboard? If you're all aboard, you go toot toot. Or if you're overboard, you go splish splash. Which one you going? Splish splash or toot toot?
Toot toot, Tim.
Toot toot. He's toot tooting himself. I'm so hyper today.
Why are you so enthusiastic?
I don't know.
Has it been a long day, Tim?
It has been a long day. It has. I've been filming today. It's been almost unbearable.
Oh, I wish I could be filming.
Oh, I do apologise. The next Doctor, we're still milking this bit. Who's going to be the next Doctor? After
we're going to get more actors in the thumbnail.
Only one actress or actor has announced that they would like to be the Doctor. Who do you think it is? Take a guess. Wild guess. Stab in the dark.
Richard Turnbull. Is it Richard Turnbull?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Ooh.
Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg. Yep, Whoopi. It's Whoopi Goldberg. She wants to be the first American Doctor. That's right.
Hey, you know what? Whoopi is a great performer. She's a great actor. If they did cast her, she'd do a great job. Yeah. I feel like just because it's a British property, I feel like most people would like it if she at least did a British accent. Yeah. I know that people would be entirely opposed to it. And I'm sure I've said at some point that I feel like the Doctor should remain British. But then you say Whoopi Goldberg, who is a bloody good actor, and I have to rethink it.
I'd like her to do it as her character from Sister Act.
I could do it as a character from Ghost.
Do you want to hear what she said about Doctor Who?
Absolutely.
I wanted to be the first female Doctor, but they have one. I said to him, what? I think who's she talking to here? Speaking to Sci-Fi Magazine, Goldberg said that she had discussed her Doctor Who aspirations with former star Tom Baker, who played the Doctor from 1974 to 1981. I wanted to be the first female Doctor, but they have one, she said. I said to him, I love the idea of an American Doctor Who. I'm still trying to do it. Goldberg has hinted that her desire to play the time-traveling alien before when she made a guest appearance on David Tennant's podcast. We don't have a Doctor Who, she told Tennant. We don't have that character who is traveling through dimensions and time and being an observer. Sometimes a hindrance, sometimes a help. The idea of that just makes me so happy. Goldberg said the BBC producers turned her away from the role. Disgusting.
Honestly, I just think it's kind of cool that someone like Whoopi Goldberg knows what Doctor Who is and is a fan.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of big Doctor Who fans. I think Tom Hanks is a Doctor Who fan.
Really? Tom Hanks watches Doctor Who?
Famous Doctor Who fans. Let's have a look.
That feels like that could be a whole video in itself.
Stephen Fry. He likes
that.
It.
Makes sense. Of course, Stephen, he's been on it.
What? Well, I know we spoke the other day about big name guests or big name actors coming on and just doing 1 or 2 seasons as the Doctor. Yeah, why not? Why not have Whoopi Goldberg? Could be anybody. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Whoopi Goldberg's like great. I mean, we know she doesn't want to be president, so being the Doctor, that's the next best thing.
New segment. It's a new segment. It's time for a new segment, Harry.
What's the new segment?
It's called Harrison's Half Hour. That's right. I've brought Harrison into the main show.
Where is he? I don't see him.
Pre-recorded. It's a new segment I'm calling Harrison's Half Hour, where one guy on Twitter the other day, I think his name was Dan, sent our Instagram page, so not on Twitter at all, on Instagram, sent our Instagram page a DM with a cool Doctor Who theory. Now, as two people who kind of bumble their way around the world of Doctor Who every week, I decided to send a theory over to Harrison and see what he
because he knows the show.
Yeah.
Because he knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. So let me read the theory out for you, and then we'll play a really cool theme, and then you'll hear Harrison, and then you'll hear the theme again, and then you'll hear us. So the theory that Dan had was, I have a theory about the timeless child. It's wild and will never be true. But could they make it could they make it that it was because of Amy? Amy brought the Doctor back after the Big Bang too, but maybe she remembered him as the man who cannot die. So maybe the origins also changed. She brought her parents back, altering her timeline. Surely she could do the same with the Doctor's timeline also. And this is what Harrison had to say.
It's quite interesting, you know. Obviously, we are able to learn the cause of the change in the history of the Doctor and the Timeless Child, as we learn in the Chibnall era. But yeah, you know, it's on the cards because we are aware that it isn't true. However, you know, it's cool to it's cool to talk about it in a way because we learn that the crack in time that Amy had in her room is as a result of the Time Lords. You learn that at the end of the Smith era. Perhaps, you know, Amy doesn't hold the power to change the Doctor's history, but she did have the power to return into the universe. And the crack in time that she had in her room, like, you know, in the words of the Smith incarnation, where he talks about all that energy pouring into Amy's heads, you know, obviously altered her life and changed her forever. So perhaps that was able to play into that, you know. It's interesting to speak about. But yeah, I mean, obviously we are aware this isn't true. However, it is interesting to have on the cards, really, because, you know, Doctor Who, anything can happen at this point. And it's crazy to believe that Amy, well, in the bloodline anyway, is kind of related as well to the Doctor. So perhaps she's got that Time Lord essence in her. We don't know, but it isn't clear. But so I don't believe that Amy, even if she had the power, is able to alter the history of the Time Lord, like of the Doctor, and that's purely because like she wasn't really aware of the other incarnations even prior to Smith. So I don't believe that Amy would even if Amy was able to, that Amy would even like opt to be aware that she could alter his history, because all she has in her head, the image of the Doctor for her, it's the Smith incarnation, and that's it. So I don't believe it could happen. I don't believe it is plausible. But it's nice to speak about anyway, and I'm grateful for you having to come up with that idea.
What did you think of Harrison's thoughts there, Harry?
I think, for his very well thought out thoughts that Harrison has thought of.
Did you like the theme tune, or would you like me to explain the theme tune, because you seem to be slightly...
the theme tune was banging. Loved it.
Yeah, so what was it?
What
was the theme tune?
Do. It's Harrison's half hour. Do.
Nobody spoke.
Right?
Nobody spoke in it. No one said a word.
I don't know. Was it like dun 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 dun
It was a speeded up version of Hancock's Half Hour. The like 1940s BBC radio drama. I took the theme tune from that and I sped it up.
I think I heard that on the radio once.
But Harrison's Half Hour?
It was a comedy show, right? Was it a comedy show?
I think so. If you want to send in your fan theories, just find us on Instagram and just send us a DM. Sometimes I'll put a story up asking for them. Go to Instagram, bigger on the pod, and just send us any old rubbish, and we will be sure to read it out on the podcast. It fills the time, and it's all good.
Does Harrison really talk about it for half an hour?
No, he talks about it for about 3 minutes, but it's just called Harrison.
Okay, good, because I'm just saying these episodes are long enough.
Without just Harrison just sat there talking to himself for half an hour.
Why have we never done like a special where it's like all three of us? Why haven't we done that?
Don't you start. I get this from Harrison all the time.
Or just we'll do it for the subscriber special we can eventually be asked to do.
Yeah. Oh, we've got news about that coming up as well. I'm saving that to the last. It's a sin.
Oh, we're actually doing it. Are you okay? So you're allowed to make up theme songs for things, but
I'm singing the song "It's a Sin."
There's an actual song called "It's." Oh, so it's probably going to be the theme song to the show. Yeah.
The reason I want to talk about, we're not actually going to talk about It's a Sin because it's not out yet. But I don't know if you saw, but Russell T Davies has filmed some brand new Dalek scenes for his new Channel 4 drama, It's a Sin. Tim,
like, how much sugar have you had before recording this?
I haven't had any sugar. Well, I probably have, but not like sweets or anything. So here's the thing. I was on the phone with an emergency dentist, and they said I can't eat any hot foods or drinks for the foreseeable future until I get my tooth seen to.
So you're just having salads?
So I didn't know that until today after I had a cup of tea and my tooth was suddenly like in agony. But I generally just haven't had any sugar today. I don't know why I'm so hyper. So what do you think of that? He's filmed new Dalek scenes. That's exciting.
Well, so I'm guessing that means he's written Dalek scenes. I mean, my question is, in what context are Daleks going to be appearing in the show? I guess what period is the show set in? Is it set in the 80s?
It's set in the 80s, I believe, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Doctor Who was on, so maybe there's going to be some kind of, I don't know, like, sequence where one of the characters is on the set of Doctor Who, or there's some kind of dream sequence involving... I mean, I'm going to be watching the show, so I'll be able to report back exactly how and why Daleks are in the show.
Yeah. It got me thinking though, because I saw an interview where Stephen Moffat said that he still comes up with Doctor Who ideas, even though he's no longer showrunner. He's like, oh, that'd be such a good Doctor Who story. And Russell said he doesn't. He said he just doesn't think of Doctor Who ideas anymore. But would you like to see one of them or both of them return to do like when Russell was showrunner, Stephen would do like an episode every series or whatever. Would you like to see that in Chibnall? So it's like, oh, we're doing a special episode and it's written by Russell T Davies.
Okay, I had a thought about this, and this is entirely a pipe dream. But what if, for the 60th, to just as a celebration of just kind of, Doctor Who and New Who and all that, what if they did like a 3-part special where part 1 was written by Russell, part 2 was written by Moffat, and part 3 was written by Chris Chibnall? A bit experimental, a bit out there, but just to see what the heck would happen.
Do you remember those drawings where you would like get a piece of paper and you'd fold it over and someone would draw a head and then the next person would draw the body, and it just gets worse as it goes along?
Yeah, well, I mean, worse is subjective.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be great if like Russell threw in an idea, Stephen did something crazy with it, because that's Stephen Moffat of all of them is probably the one who do the craziest thing, and then Chibnall would be like, all right, let's see what I can do with this. And I just realized I'm describing the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
You are. It's basically just Stephen and Russell writing the Doctor into a corner every week where he cannot escape. And then just giving it
much fun.
giving it to Chris Chibnall, going, hey, get out of that one.
Because they're not showrunners anymore. They don't really have any kind of responsibility or anything. So they could just go to town and have a blast. And you know what? Because it's a 60th, it would be like an anniversary special. I think it'd be cool. And like in each story, like in Russell's story, one of his doctors could come back. In Stephen's story, one of his doctors could come back. And then you have all 3 of them in Chibnall's story doing that. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, well, maybe we'll pitch that to the BBC at our next meeting.
Well, no, actually, it'd be even better because by this point, Jodie probably won't be the Doctor. So then Jodie can come back for Chibnall's, and it'll be a 4-Doctor story, which is like the Day of the Doctor times 2 if you don't count John Hurt or Tom Baker. Actually, I know it's the exact same amount of Doctors. It's the exact same amount of Doctors.
Yeah, and all the other Doctors that they brought back when they were all stood on that cloud at the end.
Yeah, but like those were just like people. They just superimposed their faces on them.
No, they were the real Doctors.
No, I've seen the behind the scenes. It's just people.
They're the real Doctors, Harry.
That's right. They brought
the real Doctors.
They brought John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, and William Hartnell all back from the dead.
William Hartnell didn't want to do it, so they got Richard Turnbull, the priest. They got him back.
See, usually I feel like I'm the one who goes off the rails and like waffles and does weird shit that ruins the podcast. It's weird to be the straight man.
That's going to be a bugger to edit. 200 subscribers. We're almost there. We might be. We're going to do a 200 subscriber special. Hooray!
Featuring our faces?
Possibly. Yeah, why not? I mean, I think my face has been on here. I think my face has been on the channel already. I think you can see it.
Is it? I mean, I feel like even if my face hasn't been on, it's not that hard to find my face.
No.
Online.
No, I don't think we've ever... We haven't hidden our faces, but just by the nature of it being a podcast, you just don't need to put your face out there.
Well, you know, I'm trying to get an acting career on its feet, so it would be kind of counterproductive to hide my face.
Oh, so maybe I'll show my face. But do you want to wear a bag or something? Or do you want to show your face?
No, I want to show it because I want to be... I mean, unless I feel like being on a Doctor Who podcast would be detrimental to my career. I don't feel like it would be. I just come on and talk about how much I like Doctor Who. If anything, that puts me in slightly better stead to be maybe cast on Doctor Who. Please, BBC, I'm begging you. I'll do anything.
Both of us. We come as a package.
What would you be? What would you want to do on Doctor Who?
So you'd be like the main character. You'd be like the main guest
I'm-
character, and I'd just be at the side going, "What?" Like that, like what?
So you'd be like, okay, so you like Orphan 55, where
I've not
what's his
seen
name?
it. I've not seen it. It's the only episode of
like,
New Who I've never seen.
Have you watched all of Capaldi's era?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean, so have I. Don't know that's a wow. Just because a lot of people dropped off during Capaldi's era.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember what's his name. The guy who plays Jay from The Inbetweeners.
James Buckley.
Yeah, James Buckley. Like, I'd be like the James. I mean, even that actually no, because James Buckley wasn't the main guest. Wasn't like the main side character in Orphan 55.
Oh, you'd be
There
Lee
was, like-
Mack in Kablam.
Didn't Lee Mack like die really early on?
Yeah, but I'd be
in
Lee
Kablam?
Mack's friend. Just going, what? Kablam?
Yeah.
More like kabloom. And I pull out some flowers. Ta-da.
I don't think you remember Kablam like I remember Kablam.
Oh, well, I'm fully out of news. Is there anything? Oh, no, there is more news.
There is. It never stops.
Won't stop, don't stop, won't stop rocking. I'm bringing it back. It's never disappearing. Noel Clark, who played Micky Smith, was asked by The Guardian if he would play the Doctor. How interesting.
And what did he say?
He
What
said
was his response?
his response was Clark spent 5 years on Doctor Who with Billy Piper, and he remembers the show warmly, saying he'd be happy to pop back in again, where he asked, but what about the main role? With rumours Jodie Whittaker may be leaving, that's in the thumbnail, would he consider being the first Black Doctor? Well, there's a conversation to be had, he said, laughing at providing me with some headline-worthy speculation. There, I said it. Noel Clark set to return to Doctor Who. For someone who doesn't like talking to the press, he certainly provides good copy. So there you go.
So he didn't really say either way.
No, but he would
I mean,
like
it's
to
never
return.
been done before, has it? A companion has never returned as the Doctor, have they?
I wouldn't.
Obviously,
I don't think I would like that. I feel like they're so separate characters that it then makes it an actor rather than the two separate characters.
Obviously, it's not outside the realms of possibility. There was obviously both Capaldi and Colin Baker both played characters in one-off stories before then returning as the Doctor. And even with Capaldi's Doctor, they made a big point about how the reason he had the face of the character Capaldi played previously was as a reminder to help people and save people.
Looks in a puddle, doesn't he? Looks in a puddle at his old wrinkly face. He goes, "Who gave me this frown?"
He was only 55.
Yeah, how old is he now? He's 62, I think.
Is he? Still
Yeah.
looking good for his age. Still doing work. Saw him on TV this Christmas.
What's he doing?
He was in a Ghost Story. I think it was written by Mark Gatiss. Yeah, it was.
Oh, cool. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'd love to see Mickey return. I thought he's especially after what we've done with the podcast. I've got a newfound love for Mickey.
I feel like, yeah, if I would see him return, I'm not opposed to him playing a Doctor, but I'd rather see him return as Mickey just because I'm a big fan of Mickey.
Yeah.
I called him Ricky.
Well, if you bring
Also-
Martha or Mickey back, you have to bring the other one back.
Oh yeah, because they're married. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see?
What is
There was a thing on Twitter, and it was like someone had said, "I so hope that when Jodie's era finishes, that Jodie's Whittaker's doctor is like on a balcony and she's overlooking Ryan and Graham, and like they're fighting a storm tower, and Ryan just turns to Graham and goes, "This is no place for a married man," and Ryan goes, Graham goes, "Well, you should have married me."
Oh no! Oh no! No,
Doing
Tim,
it, mate.
no!
You're doing it, mate. Doing it. Go on, you're doing it.
Tim, that's the worst thing you've said on this podcast so far. That's terrible.
What, the idea of
That's
Grain and
terrible.
Ryan being married?
Yes, that's no. I don't even want to give that any more time.
Talking of time, what are we doing next, Harry? What's next? It's the watch along. Do one of your cool intros into the watch along bit.
So I was going to do this whole thing about how it's been a long time since we've seen each other in person. Now we should have some kind of reunion once this is all over, and that would transition into a school reunion. But now, after you said that, I don't even want to say it.
Also,
So,
we have. I know I texted you the other day, and I said since starting this podcast we haven't seen each other, but we went and saw Tenet.
Sorry, we did see Tenet together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a waste of time.
That was. Yeah, honestly, like a school reunion would have been a better reunion than seeing Tenet.
Yeah. Talking
Tenet
of school of reunions.
There we go. That's our transition.
Tenet was balls. It was awful.
It had qualities that weren't the type of qualities I personally value in films.
A couple of grown men running backwards, and Michael Caine was there for that brief little bit.
I just wish there was stronger characterization. I just wish that instead of the protagonist literally just being called the protagonist and not really having a character beyond serving the function of being the protagonist.
Was Michael Caine's character called Sir Michael?
He was, and he was there for one scene, just like, hello, I'm Michael Caine. And then the protagonist was like, thanks, Sir Michael.
My mother was a lovely woman. She made me the best tea ever. Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
That was. I mean, it's as good as my impressions.
I just googled Tenet, Michael Caine, and the first thing that's come up is from the Independent. Tenet is a garbage movie, and here's why that matters.
The Independent.
The Independent, yeah.
That sounds like very clickbaity for an Independent.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you'd see like an angry YouTube thumbnail saying Tenet is garbage and here's why.
I mean, it was. It's one of the worst films I've seen at the cinema.
Well, you say that, but I saw two other films before cinemas closed, and Tenet was better than both of those.
What did you see?
Just that the film I saw, was it called 23 Walks, which was a very small, low-budget picture, and the writing was quite questionable at a lot of points. And then the other film I saw was Pixie.
Oh, yeah, I remember Pixie, yeah. That looks good.
And it's a good trailer, but then, you see the film and it doesn't quite deliver. They made a big deal about kind of Alec Baldwin being in it in the trailer, but then he's, only in two scenes. And
it's got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But I don't want to say, me and the people I went to see it with, none of us really got much out of it.
And what was the other one called?
23 Walks.
23
I believe it was 23 Walks.
23
I want to
Walks.
say it was 23.
Oh, yeah. That's got 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, I wasn't enamored with either of them.
And Tenet has 70%. That's high. That's too high. I need to bring that down.
Wait, Tenet has a lower score than both those films?
It's got 70%, yeah.
Well, that's probably just because more people saw Tenet.
It's also too high. It needs to be brought down. So everybody just go over there and just leave a comment saying...
We're not going to tell people to spam hate...
I'm not going
to tell people to spam hate Tenet.
Just leave a comment saying, what up, dog breath? Where's your mum? Buying croissants? Lol. Just leave that.
What does that mean?
No, it doesn't mean anything.
Like Tenet.
Type it backwards.
Okay, that's cruel. That's cruel. Tenet. I mean, did Tenet have? I mean, it doesn't feel like Tenet had a message. It was just kind of
The worst thing about
high
Tenet
concept
is
movie.
what's come afterwards with Christopher Nolan defending his own movie, basically saying that people don't understand it because they're not ready for his genius yet.
Did he say that as much as that?
He's
I feel
like-
like he wouldn't have called himself a genius, would he?
He's spoken a lot about the sound and said that a lot of directors in the
The
past have
sound.
yeah, the sound of Tenet, because you can't hear what anyone is saying.
I remember like the gun. I don't know if it's just like where we were sat in the cinema, but the gunshots were really loud, and the
was-
music.
yeah.
Like the sound mixing seemed off, but I don't know if that was because of like the cinema or the film itself. Because I've never had that problem before.
No, I think it was the film. I know a lot of people had horrible sound issues with it. 'Cause I remember there was a scene on the boat, and I remember looking at you being like, there's so much dialogue here. I do not know what is going on."
That was a pretty important scene as well, and it was poorly blocked because just like three people standing around just explaining, the Kenneth Branagh has a thing that will end the universe or time, or I don't know, and I don't know why Kenneth Branagh wanted to end time or whatever it was he wanted to do.
It was like when I saw Man from U.N.C.L.E. I got to the end of it and I sat there and I thought, what was that about?
I don't know. I feel like Tenet's a movie that makes me feel stupid for not understanding it.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like it, because I felt stupid for not getting it. And then when I came out and found that everybody else didn't know what was going on, it was okay.
It's just that, maybe if I saw it a second time, maybe if I'd seen Tenet 2 more times instead of seeing 23 Walks and Pixie.
Christopher Nolan says fellow directors have called to complain about his inaudible sound. We got lots of complaints, Nolan said. I actually got calls from other filmmakers who would say, I just saw your film and the dialogue is inaudible. Some people thought maybe the music's too loud, but the truth was it was kind of the whole, big word, ENCHILADA. Basically, he's just saying it's how they chose to mix it. It was a very, very radical mix. I was a little shocked to realize how conservative people are where it comes to sound. Oh, get him. I was a little shocked to realize how conservative people are when it comes to sound, because you can make a film that looks like anything. You can shoot it on your iPhone. No one's going to complain. But if you mix the sound a certain way, or if you use certain sub-frequencies, people get up in arms. That's because, Christopher Nolan, as long as we can it can be filmed on anything as long as we can see it, but it's not even filming it if we can't fucking hear what's going on. That's why people are annoyed. There you go. That's my rant.
I always find it interesting to hear about kind of directors who like talking about the work of directors, because like actors, they're always really nice about each other and the work they've done. But directors, they really go to town if they don't like what another director's done. Yeah. Like, did you know that like back in like the 70s, like Spielberg, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, and Francis Ford Coppola, like were all like best friends?
Yeah. Don't tell me, because it's part of my film studies. They are called. They've got like a group name. Do you remember it?
I can't remember it.
Oh, what's it called? I can't remember. I'll text someone now. But sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, but like George Lucas like took like a rough cut of Star Wars to show them, like, I'll show my movie to my friends, and Spielberg was nice about it, which makes sense. But then Scorsese and Coppola just like went to town on it. They hated it, and Francis Ford Coppola was just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, there's a giant dog thing there. What's happening? And it was actually Francis Ford Coppola who said to George Lucas, what you need to do is you need to start this film with an opening crawl so I know what the hell is going on. So the famous Star Wars opening crawl is Francis Ford Coppola's idea.
Yeah, I know that Lucas also, I think he sort of, I don't know, because I thought he took that from Flash Gordon, didn't he?
Well, he did, but I think because the whole thing was like inspired by space operas. I mean, it is a space opera, but I think it was Francis Ford Coppola who suggested adding the opening crawl.
Ah, I see. I've just messaged my film studies group chat and nobody has replied to my message. So come back next week to find out what that friendship group was called. I bet they were called the Cine Boys.
The Cine Boys.
Yeah, like cinema, and they're all boys. The Cine Boys.
Would it make more sense if we were called the Cine Men?
Nah, boys with a Z.
But men, the cinemen.
Nah, the Cine Boys. And they all stand like Charlie's Angels, but they make it look like they're holding Super 8 cameras instead of pistols.
There's no real modern equivalent to that, to my knowledge.
Do you
I don't
remember
know, maybe all the MCU directors go for lunch together.
Do you remember when we tried to do that segue into school reunion about half an hour ago?
Oh yeah. Are you gonna just like cut all the stuff we're doing now out, or
No,
are
I
you
don't
just
edit
gonna...
this. No, this will all be in. Everybody can hear this. Doctor Who, don't stop. Never stops rocking. It's all the time. Harry introduced school reunion.
Speaking of school reunions,
What do you mean, speaking of school reunions?
Tim, just stop the recording. We're gonna keep. It just keeps going. How long have we been talking for? Okay, we've not hit an hour yet. How long did we talk on school reunion for? How long is this episode going to be?
2 hours long with loads of adverts.
This is why no one listens to the episode reflections, because we do this.
It was pre-recorded
I'm
when
gonna
we
be
had
honest.
some sanity. I'm slowly losing it.
I'm going to be honest, I don't really do this for,
Fun.
for internet clout. No, I do it entirely for friends. I do it so I can talk to my friend for an hour or two a week.
There's somebody else on this podcast.
Oh, wow. That cut me, man.
Yeah.
That cut me deep.
Talking of friends, let's do a friends podcast. But the one where they do a podcast.
I'm sure there's like 50 podcasts already called that.
And I bet they've all got like some funny lobster pun. Or something like
Lobster?
that. Yeah, like, that's what's
Is
to do
there-
with Friends.
is there a lobster
Whenever I
in
see
Friends?
Friends merchandise, it's always got a lobster on it. I don't know. Is it like what Ross and Rachel say to each other, like "You're my lobster" or something like that?
I mean, that sounds like something from Friends.
And I bet the logo
Friends
for the podcast is like the picture frame on the door, and it has whatever the podcast title is in
yeah.
the frame.
This Christmas, every Christmas, me and my brother, we go into
This
like
just
a
doesn't stop,
bargain
it just keeps
supermarket.
going.
No, this is relevant. It's not relevant to Doctor Who, but it's relevant. But
Okay.
every Christmas, me and my brother, we go into like a bargain store, like a discount type, and we get each other gifts for £5 to £10. And this year, Alex got me, my brother, he got me a dinosaur egg that you put in water and like hatches and a little dinosaur grows. And I got him a Friends card quiz game where literally it's like hundreds of cards containing different quiz questions about Friends. I didn't know it was possible to have that much trivia about Friends. Like, this was designed for like Friends super fans. We had one game of it on Christmas Day, and it was just the worst thing ever. We've not watched Friends for years.
If you want more Friends content, go to wherever you get your podcasts, and you can listen to Best of Friends podcast. Best of Friends is a weekly podcast with Eric and Mallory Long, Erin Mallory Long, and Jamie Woodham. Hilariously guide you through every episode of Friends from beginning to end. Bold claim to say you're hilarious, especially when you're up against us two jokers.
Do you think that they go on tangents about like the Doctor Who board game?
I'd love it. Or you can listen to the other Friends podcast. It's called Friends with Friends. That's so rude. So sorry.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Tim, we're called the Bigger on the Inside podcast. That's the most generic, overused name for a Doctor Who podcast. You couldn't have a more overused name for a Doctor Who podcast. Don't go ragging on these people for their friends' podcast names. You could have had any podcast name in the world about Doctor Who, and you chose like the lowest hanging fruit. Don't go ragging on people for what they call their friends' podcasts, okay? I'm drawing the line there. I'm drawing the line.
What would you have called this podcast if you could have named it? What would you have called it?
Oof. Let's think.
The Sonic Boys.
Sonic Boys. No, because that sounds like a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast.
Oh, yeah. The Time Rotating Boys. The Time Rotating Lads.
Wibbly wobbly podcasty stuff.
Oh, great. That was brilliant, wasn't it? People are going to type that into iTunes.
I don't know, but off the top of my head, like, what? Okay,
Yes, I would like a jelly baby.
Well, that's not New Who. This is a New Who podcast. That has to be something well into New Who.
No, I don't have... What is it the Absorber Loss says? Got nothing else... What is it?
Oh, what's the matter? Got nothing left.
We didn't mention that. We said we were going to mention that last week. That what the new interview was, and we didn't. We've got all this time, nearly an hour in, and we didn't mention the fact that last week we got to interview William Grantham, the creator of the Absorber, and that'll be out either when we do our Love and Monsters episode or after.
And it was only after we did the interview that we realised he's actually a pretty successful YouTuber as well. He's Channel Pup.
I didn't have a clue. Why are we so bad at this?
And when we interviewed him, his icon was literally the Channel Pup icon, and I didn't realise he was Channel Pup until we finished recording.
He's got over 50,000 subscribers. And I thought he was
the biggest guy we've had on.
I thought he was just a kid who did himself off. Oh, this episode's it's not going very well, and I hope they're recording for.
I feel like this is kind of a big beautiful mess. I think these are my favorite type of podcasts.
For some people, this will be the high point, or this will be the low point, depending on people's.
This is a high point for me. Like,
dear God.
This is why I do this.
Oh well, we've got to wrap this up. We've got to get some freaking school reunion. We've got to get there. We've got to work it in. Oh, well, it must have been nice for William to talk about his time on Doctor Who. It must have sort of been some sort of reunion.
Speaking of reunions...
Oh, everybody enjoy listening to School Reunion and stick around to the end because we might have said something funny about Little Mix. Maybe that was this episode. Maybe it was last week's where I overwrote the file and we had to re-record it. Who knows?
Tim doesn't listen back to these.
I don't listen back. I just know at some
neither
point...
do I.
At some point I made a joke about Little Mix and I don't know when it was.
I know you're saying you're really upset. I mean, if it's this episode, they'll hear it.
Yeah, well, do not spoil the joke. Coming weeks away.
Spoilers, sweetie.
Oh,
it's a reference to the lady in the show.
And that's what we could have called our podcast. Hello, sweetie.
Hello, sweetie.
Oh, here's School Reunion. Just listen to it.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut it down, pop up!
This is a command from the Daleks. All listeners are demanded to subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribe or you will be exterminated. Seek, locate, subscribe.
What's the point in having you all?
That was a fun part of the episode, wasn't it, Harry? We talked. That
was really funny. That was really funny.
It was good. Anyway, let's actually get into the bulk of the episode.
I've just realised, because like that's us reacting to like the news bit, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, what if like someone died? Yeah, what if someone died? What if like Tom Baker died or something? You're like, ah, that was funny.
Oh well, at least we've said it now, so we've covered our backs. Anyway, we're back. We're going to do our watch along. We're doing series 2, episode 3, which is called what, Harry?
It is called School Reunion, written by Toby Whithouse. Is this the first Doctor Who episode we've seen, Toby Whithouse?
Yeah, it is. He goes on to do a lot more. He goes up right up to Capaldi's last series, so we'll be seeing him again. But no, yeah, when the name came up, I didn't recognize it straight away, but really interesting. School Reunion, written by Toby Whithouse, David Tennant, Billy Piper, Noel Clark as Mickey, and a reintroduction of the late, great, lovely Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane, and John Leeson as K9, Anthony Head as Mr. Finch, and someone called Jer Pickley as Kenny. There you go.
Is that the kid?
Yeah, I don't want to describe him just on his weight, but the small fat kid with spiky hair.
I mean, the thing is, like, that kid's like gonna be like older than us. Like, he'll be like, he might be like in his 30s or at least late 20s now.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I tried to have.
Might be in his 30s.
I tried to find him because I thought, oh, maybe he'd be cool to have on a podcast. He's got a Twitter account. He hasn't tweeted in about 5 years. And apart from that, I couldn't find anything. But while I was listening to the audio commentary from this episode, David Tennant mentioned that Joe spent a lot of his free time talking to the girls on set and getting their phone numbers.
No. He was the big star.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So let's get straight into it. Doctor Who School Reunion. The episode opens with that really fun cold open of Anthony Head. Is it Anthony Head or Anthony Head? I think it's Anthony.
I couldn't tell you.
Shall I double check? Anyway, it's revealed that he is a Krillitane. We don't actually see it, do we? He sort of just eats that girl behind his headmaster's door.
Yeah, we don't see him transform, do we, in the episode?
No, you never see him transform. There was meant to be a scene where... just let me. I'm still looking, so apologies if I sound uninterested. And there was meant to be the scene where he tries to persuade the Doctor that he could join them and save Gallifrey. In that scene, you were meant to see his Krillitane wings appear, and he was going to arch over them as if like an evil angel, but they didn't have time. So that would have been the only time we would have seen him. Anthony, Anthony. That's Anthony, isn't it?
Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, there we go. We've learned that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the episode, Harry?
I think it's a lovely episode. There's a lot going on, and this is an interesting episode because it means a lot of different things to a lot of different Doctor Who fans I've kind of found. But I think I think it's a really lovely episode. I think it's definitely one of, if not the highlight of Series 2 so far. I know we're not far into it, but I think of the 3 episodes so far, this is my favourite.
Yeah, no, I agree. The one thing that I remember about this episode when watching it is there's so much great dialogue in it that I kind of have always just sort of remembered. The Doctor teaching physics and saying physics endless times. The bit where he says correctamundo. I think I just say that, and I've never realised where I've got it from until I watched it back. And I went, that's where I say that. I say that. The Doctor.
That's a great sequence. Just him being a teacher. Part of me kind of wishes we got more of that, more of him in the classroom interacting with kids, because it's just it's an odd thing where like it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't work. Like the Doctor's a teacher. I feel like he'd be a pretty banging teacher, honestly.
Well, I remember like the dream as a kid was always like, because I was obsessed with Doctor Who, like the thing of thinking, what if I walk around this corner and they're just filming Doctor Who? Or what if one day, for some reason, David Tennant's my teacher? I'd shit myself, I'd be so excited. And when you're like 7, anything's possible like that. And I remember watching this episode and being like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because he's such a cool teacher in it as well.
Oh yeah, it's like the whole kind of like pinstripe suit aesthetic that is kind of the kind of quirky, is kind of, you can buy into it as a quirky, cool teacher.
Yeah. Correctamundo, I'll take that off my list. We've talked about physics. Milo, the little kid in the class who knows all the answers to those questions. You don't really see that much of him after that. I also got me thinking everybody knows somebody who is like Milo anyway, without the need of Krillatane chip oil. I know Harrison, who does the Big Finish podcast with me. The amount of times we're in class and nobody's hand goes up apart from Harrison, and the teacher just goes, somebody else. Because nobody can be bothered to answer the question.
I think that might have been me in school.
I went with two Milos.
It was definitely me in uni. In uni, I was always the one. Who people.
This is our, I want to say, second mention of Chips with David Tennant. Chips seems to be a reoccurring thing in the Russell T Davies era, especially with Rose.
I mean, one thing I actually noticed was when the 10th Doctor goes to the canteen and he gets served him from Rose, he kind of throws Rose this little grin that I thought was very, very kind of reminiscent of Eccleston.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you noticed, but he kind of gave this little smug, cheeky grin, and it just gave off real Eccleston vibes. And I just kind of find it interesting that there's kind of that connective issue.
Is that when he says happy slappy hoodies with Asbos and ringtones?
Oh, that's a little later on in the scene. It's the same scene, yeah.
I really like that scene because he sort of goes, oh, yeah, I know what I'm on about. Like he's been like learning all about youth and millennials. Why wasn't Kenny allowed to eat chips? Because the teacher comes up to him and says, like, you eating your chips, Kenny, as I'm not allowed.
Isn't it that like the chips are infused with some kind of like brain juice to make the kids super smart? And I guess for some reason Kenny isn't allowed to be one of the super smart kids.
Maybe. I also feel like maybe it's slightly implied that maybe he's on a diet or something like that. Because I know he's a kid and I'm being slightly careful about what I say, but there is no denying that the character is played for comic relief in some aspects because of his physical appearance. Would you agree?
Perhaps. I didn't really think much of it when I was watching, but perhaps that's my blindness.
Maybe, I'm not saying massively, but I'm just saying for that instance where the reason he can't eat chips and all we have to go on is what we can see, because we don't really know the character that well at that point.
Yeah.
That would be my assumption from that.
Yeah, possibly. I think I need to kind of like see the actual screenplay and see whether or not they kind of how they describe Kenny in the screenplay. Whether that's something that was always part of the character.
Yeah, one thing when I listened to the commentary for this episode as well, and they were saying David really likes the fact that this story joins them about halfway through an adventure. They're already established in the school. You don't see them start the school. But Toby Whithouse, who wrote it, said there was earlier drafts where it was there's this school and such. But I don't know how much you knew, but the BBC at the time were doing what's called Tardisodes, which are like little 5-minute preview build-up episodes to the actual episode that would go online. And it's Mickey on the internet, and he finds out about this school and phones the Doctor and Rose and tells them to come back to Earth and sort it out.
I didn't realize they were doing those this early on, because I know that kind of in the Matt Smith era, I've seen like on YouTube kind of mini episodes. I didn't realize they were doing those kind of things that early on. Are those like archived anywhere, or
you can just find them on YouTube. You just put Tardisodes or something like that in. They're all on there. They're really good fun.
Cool.
Did you pick up on the Torchwood reference?
Yes, I did. I can't remember where it was.
It's on Mickey's computer as he's typing away. It says access denied Torchwood.
Right. I wasn't.
I really liked the conversation Mickey and Rose had where they say, where Rose is like, oh, I thought you called me home just because you missed me. And he's like, nope, called you home because there was some weird alien stuff going on.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Mickey he's growing, man. He's growing.
He's earning his stripes, I feel, isn't he? He does a lot in this episode to sort of prove his worth. And
yeah, definitely.
He's sort of proving he's not just Rose's boyfriend or Rose's ex-boyfriend or Rose's lover. He's Micky Smith and he's got something to do rather than just wait around for Rose.
And while the Doctor does have like a bit of a jab at him at one point, on the whole, like there is kind of a bit more kind of respect between the two of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought about that, because there is that scene where he calls Mickey out for screaming like a little girl. But that's it, really. Whereas the Ninth Doctor, throughout the whole episode, you would have imagined him to be like, why is he coming? He's not joining the TARDIS. He's useless. I'd rather have K9. And, you know.
I think it's great, like, at the end of the episode, Mickey kind of says, like, can I tag along? And the Doctor's like, yeah, absolutely, that's great. And it's Rose who's the one who's apprehensive about it.
Yeah. Well, we can skip ahead to that last bit. What I really liked about that is Mickey asks the question and Rose sort of gives the Doctor a side eye to say, don't let him join. No. And the Doctor ignores Rose and lets Mickey join. And I wonder how much of that's to do with the fact that they previously had a conversation where the Doctor admits that he won't be with Rose forever and she'll die and he'll have to go off and do his own. So he's already, obviously, foreshadowing what's to come in the series. He's already starting to sort of build that departure from Rose to make it easier, I imagine.
Do you think that's what he's trying to do? Do you think he's trying to introduce Mickey to TARDIS team as kind of an incentive for Rose to leave? Because
maybe not leave, but sort of not become as attached.
Maybe. I don't know, though, because it feels quite clear that, like, Rose has no attachment to Mickey at all at this point. So it would be a weird way to send that message to Rose, because if anything, bring Mickey on board would make her kind of resent home even more. Sorry, I've got to take this phone call.
That's all right. I'll just pause this. Harry just got a phone call from the Queen saying he's going to be knighted. That was exciting, wasn't it, Harry?
It was. It was Queen Victoria.
Oh, wow. So Mickey and the 10th Doctor, Rose, I think he doesn't want her to leave, but he's trying to make her not as attached to life in the TARDIS, in the sense that she can come and go. She doesn't always have to live there, if you know what I mean.
Maybe.
Almost like we see with Clara. She gets a job at a school, but she occasionally goes traveling with the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, what's your opinion on that kind of contrasting? Because there are some companions such as kind of Rose, and then a lot of Tennant's companions, Rose, Martha, Donna, who kind of just stay as a permanent fixture in the TARDIS. But then you get ones later on, such as Clara, Amy and Rory once they've settled, and the current fam who are kind of after every adventure they go back home. Is there one which you prefer over the other, or? I
think it depends. I think as a TARDIS team, the idea of having them all together all the time is more appealing. But then I really like the idea of Clara having a life outside the TARDIS and balanced in it. Even though, to me, that series with Danny Pink wasn't done perfectly well, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I feel like there are kind of like pluses and minuses of each. I think that when they have a home life, it kind of introduces a similar thing that you get with like a lot of superheroes, where it's kind of having to balance the insane adventures with the stuff at home. But then when they're more of a permanent fixture and like living essentially on the TARDIS, you kind of get much more of a sense that kind of the team or the companion is, they just feel much more kind of lived in, and it feels kind of a bit more almost intense.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with the 10th Doctor, where the 10th Doctor can be quite emotionally intense. So that's kind of, that intensity is lifted by the fact the companions are like living with them. And everything is,
because it sort of contrasts quite well as well with something that we'll get to in a second. When you look at Jo Grant, who we looked at when we did the 3 Doctors, when she leaves because she's got engaged. And she leaves the TARDIS, and at the engagement wedding party or whatever, the Doctor's there, and he just casually just opens the door and walks off and leaves, and they never see each other again until the Sarah Jane Adventures. And then you look at, so she obviously had a life outside the TARDIS, but then you look at Sarah Jane, and when she left the 4th Doctor, she didn't want to leave, and he didn't want her to leave, but she had to leave because he was going back to Gallifrey where humans weren't allowed. So it's sort of, I suppose it's something that's always sort of been in the show, is you don't just join up and that's your life. It's just an additional part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd actually need to. I have a hankering to go and watch the Tom Baker era at some point because I've never understood why after going to Gallifrey, the Fourth Doctor didn't just go and pick up Sarah Jane again.
Yeah.
That's something I would need to kind of check out myself because obviously, it's very obvious even in this episode in School Reunion that both Sarah Jane had quite an attachment to the Doctor and the TARDIS, and that the Doctor had a real kind of attachment and fondness for Sarah Jane. So the fact that he kind of never thought to go back for her until just bumping into her is a little bit perplexing. But I guess that's something which the episode kind of directly addresses in the scene about.
So before we get into Sarah Jane, I want to bring up something that I spotted in this episode that brought back a lot of memories. And it was when the kids were on the computer and they had those big old headphones on with the wires. Do you remember them?
Oh yeah, like the plastic ones.
Yeah, like the big headphones like that. And then like it doesn't have two individual wires like the ones I'm wearing. It has like one cord that spirals down into the computer.
Oh yeah, like the spike on phones. Yeah,
and you couldn't move your head because it would always pull off your head. As soon as I saw them, it brought back so many memories. I was like, oh my God, I remember those horrible things. So let's get into it. Sarah Jane Smith, she doesn't actually have that much big of an entrance. I was expecting the door to open and she'd be stood there, Sarah Jane Smith, but the door she just walks down the stairs with Finch. There's some somber music, but that's it. And then there's a scene, obviously, where she meets the 10th Doctor, but obviously she doesn't know him to be the 10th Doctor. And the look on his face of seeing his best friend again after so long is just it's such a good scene, I feel.
I mean, I feel like kind of you say that she doesn't know who he is, but I feel like as soon as he says John Smith, I feel like she immediately puts two and two together and figures it out.
Yeah, I think she has an idea, doesn't she? But she doesn't she's not 100% sure until she sees the TARDIS. There's another scene that follows that where you see the Doctor walk out of the teacher's room and he's just stood in the corridor and he just sort of like takes a big breath in after, like almost like he's just embraced everything that happens. Like that was the best thing that could ever have happened to him. I think it's such a good scene.
Yeah.
How much of the Sarah Jane Adventures are you familiar with? Are you familiar with the concepts of it? Not every episode, because I haven't seen every episode.
When it was on TV, I only saw the first episode, which had like, I don't know, I think it was like Evil Soda or something.
Yes, yeah. So are you familiar with her version of the Sonic Screwdriver?
Is it Sonic Lipstick?
Sonic Lipstick, yeah. And she doesn't have that in this. Which got me thinking, if you were going to make that now, I don't think they'd get away with giving the female lead Sonic Lipstick.
No, they just give her her own screwdriver.
Yeah, it's almost like the man has the screwdriver and the woman has the lipstick. It doesn't really work as much.
No. I mean, like, even like a couple of years from this episode, when we get introduced to River Song, she just has her own screwdriver.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she? Yeah. Obviously, which turns out to be the Doctor's actual screwdriver, but...
Yeah, it's a modded.
Yeah.
It's a modded 10th Doctor's screwdriver, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you think to Sarah when she first sees the TARDIS? And she's quite scared by it, isn't she? She's sort of... It's standing there in front of her, and you would have thought she would have jumped straight back into it. But she sort of repels from it. She walks backwards, almost staggering in shock.
I mean, I guess she's a bit apprehensive. I mean, imagine after that long, there's always this hesitation of, do I return to this life? I mean, even though it's kind of been made quite clear that she's spent her whole life since being separated from the Doctor trying to track him down again. I imagine once you're face to face with that, it would be quite daunting.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I feel like she's done other things there, hasn't she? She sort of became an investigator in her own right and a journalist.
You can't forget K9 and Company, the best Doctor Who spin-off.
They mentioned that in Confidential. It ran for one episode.
I mean, although it's obviously canon, though, because she has K9.
She does have K9. And obviously now, over lockdown, I don't know if you listened to it, Russell wrote a very lovely short story which involved all of Sarah Jane's Bannerman Road gang Captain Jack was there, and they all turn up for Sarah Jane's funeral. So the character sadly no longer exists, sadly passed away. And K9 in that turns up and goes back with Ace. So now Ace, the Seventh Doctor companion, played by Sophie Aldred, is the now owner of K9. Would you like to see the return of more classic companions?
I reckon so. I mean, obviously, of the classic companions, it was pretty much no contest that Sarah Jane was the most popular. I feel like the only classic companions I'm aware of that could compare would be, say, Ace or Jamie.
What about Susan, the Doctor's first companion, his granddaughter, Caroline Ford, who's still around? Yeah.
I know that Susan's been really fleshed out in Big Finish as well, hasn't she?
Yeah, but I think I know me particularly, would love to see her return to the actual show.
That would be cool. I mean, we've spoken about this before, but I feel like the 60th, a good way that it could kind of stand out as something quite distinct from the 50th as a celebration would be to focus on kind of Doctor Who's legacy outside of New Who and outside of returning Doctors. So a bunch of returning favorite companions could be a very effective way of doing that. So if we were to bring back a bunch of old companions, I'd say that would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, I should say we're recording this on November the 23rd, 2020, which is Doctor Who Day, 57 years of Doctor Who. So today I watched An Unearthly Child. I watched it back today, and I couldn't help but watching it think it would be so cool to see an episode where the Doctor meets Susan again. And at the end of the episode, I believe from the 50th, it's implied that Ian Chesterton, who is also one of the Doctor's first companions at Cohill School, is now the head of the school or something. He's quite high up in the school. So it would be super cool if, and Ian, the actor who plays him, William Russell, is now like 97. So maybe asking them to do something like a full episode would be out of the question. But just have a really cool episode where it ends with Susan going, "Oh, Doctor, I've got someone who wants to meet you," and taking them into the school, and you just get that nice scene of the three of those characters back together again would be super good, I think.
Yeah, to do that while you still can.
Yeah, I think that's something Doctor Who... Sorry, go on.
I was just say, of course, if the actor who plays Ian feels, up to it.
Yeah, but I think that's something Doctor Who needs to take into consideration more, is taking opportunities whilst actors are still here, especially with Classic Who, because not many of them have, I hate to sound morbid on Doctor Who Day, not many of them are going to have that long left, so you want to get the best story you can as soon as you can. And I feel like now, like you say, with the 60th coming up, even if you don't do it directly for the 60th, round about this time is going to be a great idea to do something like that.
Absolutely.
What do we have here? Scared of TARDIS, Life Without the Doctor.
We're talking about the TARDIS scene. There was one little thing I noticed in kind of the music, the score, that I thought was really cool when they introduced the TARDIS, when Sarah Jane kind of came face to face with it, which was that... I don't know if I was just mishearing, but I feel like the music that played was kind of this kind of very slow version of part of the Doctor Who theme that...
I think it was a little bit,
cool because if you go back to Classic Who, very often during the show, they would play that motif at various points. And I think even in one of Sarah Jane's last scenes, they played that motif. So it was kind of a cool little linking callback, if that was deliberate, which I'm guessing it probably was.
Obviously, one really key element of this is the contrast between Rose and Sarah and their sort of bitch fight, Sex in the City-esque rivalry at the start of the episode. Obviously, they have that argument in the computer lab where they're both just sort of comparing each other. I did this, I did this, I did this. What do you think to that?
I know that a lot of people who dislike Rose as a companion kind of point to this episode as a prime example of why. That kind of all the companions there have been, Rose was the first, maybe the only one that I can think of to display such jealousy at other companions and acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah.
And of course, some of her comments are just like, where did you go to school? The Stone Age? Or whatever it was.
I can't believe you get Billy Piper to come in and just do those odd lines for you. You have such a good friendship with her.
I know, like, she's not like that TV show she was doing on Sky. Like, it's wrapped up filming now, and so to pass the time, it's a gig, isn't it?
I really like that scene because it sort of is that sort of jealousy, isn't it? Where Rose says, Sarah says, I didn't come here just to pick up where we left off. Where she clearly sort of has in some ways, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Even though she doesn't necessarily want it, I think she's kind of hoping that the Doctor would go, "Oh, Sarah, let's go back and carry on and do all this and this." But he's had like 20 companions since then.
Yeah. I feel like more than anything, she kind of just wants closure. Like, she wants to kind of comfort him and say, you left me. You do realize what this did to me. I totally loved my life, traveling with you, and for you to drop me like that without me really having anything to say.
1 minute. Someone's just delivering me a parcel.
Okay.
Hello. Did you get a parcel? Huh? No. I'll ask him. Listen what you want and then I'll ask. No worries.
Oh, Tim's back.
You've been keeping everybody interested while I disappeared?
Yeah, I was giving very insightful commentary while you were gone.
My parcel's not here yet. I'm still waiting.
Oh.
Anyway, I don't know what you said. The scene where they turn around and they start laughing at the Doctor because they've both sort of realised the 4th and the 10th Doctor are almost the same person. Do you know what made them laugh?
I was just a line about just kind of how the Doctor seems very kind of.
I mean, on set. Do you know what made them laugh on set?
Oh, was there something behind the scenes on set that made them laugh?
Take a guess. What do you think it could be?
I don't know. Was there like a line flub that was particularly funny, or
no? What it was just behind camera as they turn around, David Tennant is stood there with a little mustache painted on, and that's what makes them laugh.
And they just decide to do it.
Yeah, K9, he's back. I love K9, brilliant character. What do you make of him? I think he's great.
Yeah, K9's lovely. It's hard to dislike K9. Even if he is a bit, as Rose puts it, disco.
Yeah.
It's a little robot dog. You can't hate a robot dog.
Yeah.
And he wants to please.
Yeah, so from here on inwards, he appears in this. He appears in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He appears in... What else does he appear in? Does he appear in The End of Time or something like that? I imagine he does at some point.
I don't think... He's not in The End of Time, but he's in the Series 4 finale.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in that. Anything else he appears in? I don't think he appears with Matt Smith.
No, he hasn't appeared since Sarah Jane Adventures, I don't think. Of course, unless you want to count the Australian K9 show.
Well, this is what I was going to talk about. So there was that, and I remember it being on Channel 5 once. I remember catching it and being like, this is dreadful. But I remember being at an age where I was young enough to sort of accept anything that someone put in front of me as good. I didn't know quality TV. I only knew what I was watching. But I remember that coming on and thinking, oh, this is rubbish. What is this?
It doesn't K9 look completely different? And it's like Australian, but they're doing British accents, aren't they?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. But I know he does have a different look. And I met John Leeson, the voice of K9 at convention once. And I asked him, because there's constant rumours about a K9 movie coming out.
A movie?
A K9 Doctor Who movies. Let me have a look.
Like theatrical?
Yeah.
But Doctor Who doesn't even... other than the Peter Cushing movies, Doctor Who has never had a theatrical film, unless you want to count, like, Day of the Doctor.
So I'm just looking. K9 could Okay, so this is from 2018. K9 could appear could reappear in a new series as producers promise a major new project. And that was in 2018, right? 2017, we said first look at updated movie K9. This is from the Doctor Who news website, www.thedoctorwhosite.co.uk. First look at a new updated movie K9. The weekend at the Doctor DWAS event revealed the first practical prop for the new look updated K9. The prop will be used to showcase the K9 movie that is currently in pre-production in the UK, Canada, and Australia. Back in, Bob Baker has written the scripts. The props will be used at various conventions to mark the 40th anniversary of K9's first TV appearance. As the next few months go, along with a few, la-di-da-di-da. And then there's this really cool looking futuristic K9 prop. I'll just try and screen share with you. Obviously, this doesn't really work for our listeners. You look so confused.
It's moments like these that is disappointing. This is just a podcast because I have the most perplexed look on my face right now. Oh, what? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe it's because I'm used to the really simplistic K9, but that feels slightly excessive to me. I don't know.
It loses some of its charm, doesn't it, when they go full sci-fi?
Yeah, and it still kind of has like the 70s sci-fi aesthetic. I feel like if you're going to update K9, you should make him contemporary sci-fi.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we should get in touch with someone from this movie, like Bob Baker, and ask him what's going on. That'd be cool.
Yeah, because I feel like even if there was a K9 movie in production, that is not the case anymore. Like 3 years would have been enough time for a film like that to have been shot and
Anyway, so as I was saying, I met John Leeson, the voice of K9, in 2018, I want to say 2018. And I asked him about this and I said, I keep reading about it. What's going on? And he says he has no idea. He'll be the last to know. But he thinks it's still in development. And that was 2 years ago.
I'm guessing it's just one of those films that's going through like development hell because some films are like that. Like they go between different studios and everything.
We'll have to talk one day about the how familiar are you with the Doctor Who movie that never was? That was around 2010 it got announced with Harry Potter producer attached to it to direct.
They were going to make it in 2010. So would that been like David Tennant theatrical?
Doctor Who movie Harry Potter producer. It was very... Yeah, let's see if I can just find it. David Yates, director David Yates.
Isn't the guy who does the Harry Potter films?
Yes, Doctor Who David Yates. Let me have a quick look. David Yates talks Doctor Who and why he left this something else. 2012, David Yates says he's still doing the Doctor Who film. 2011, David Yates to direct Doctor Who movie. That's from sci-fi.co.uk, collider.com, indiewire.com. Geronimo, 5 actors who could leave the David Yates hailed Doctor Who film. And it was gonna, but then in 2015, 7th of April, Stephen Moffat shut the full thing down and said that's not happening because what David Yates wanted to do was recast and start from scratch. It was going to be a new Doctor, a new companion, a new story, and everything was going to be brand new.
So like its own like canon separate from the TV show.
I couldn't say, but we should do a video on it.
Kind of like the Peter Cushing films.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So subscribe if you want to hear some of that. Let's go back to school reunion. Sorry?
So instinctively, I feel like the British public, at least, would not have gone along with that.
Nah.
Doctor Who is like a legacy, like property at this point, and to kind of throw that legacy away for a theatrical film to try and appeal to US audiences, I don't think that would have worked.
But it didn't work, did it, when they tried?
Well, no, clearly.
Let's go back to school reunion with the Krillitane. I want to talk about the Krillitane. What do you think of their CGI? Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it's not the best, but I think they disguise a lot of it with some very good camera work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the werewolf, keeping them hidden in darkness does wonders. Like similarly to werewolf, they clearly know how to shoot these CG characters a lot better than they did for series 1. I think the werewolf looked better overall. There was just more going on with him, and obviously the fact there was just one CG creature as opposed to like loads of them in this episode probably helped with that.
I thought
they work.
Yeah, they definitely do work. I thought they looked a lot like the monster from the live-action Scooby-Doo movie from the early 2000s.
Oh, you're making me think hard now.
Is that reference a stretch too far?
I watched that movie growing up, but I've not watched it since I was like.
I don't think it was in the Rowan Atkinson one. It was in the sequel one, I think. Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
2.
I didn't see Scooby-Doo 2. I never saw the second Scooby-Doo.
You're missing out. Yeah, this is the monster I'm talking about. Share the screen. This one. Ta-da!
Oh, yeah. I've actually heard that the second Scooby-Doo movie is pretty good.
It's all right.
If it holds up.
Yeah,
it's by James Gunn, isn't it?
It's written and produced, I think, or something like that. He doesn't direct them, but yeah.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo
and Doctor Who aren't all that different, are they?
Why would you like to see crossover?
Well, they're both about like a team of mystery solvers in a blue vehicle fighting monsters.
Oh, you're right. Mickey.
I feel like it would work pretty well as a crossover. Like Scooby-Doo have crossed over with Batman and with countless celebrities.
Supernatural. Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo could cross over with Doctor Who very easily.
It probably could. Mickey and Sarah share a really nice scene, I think, when Mickey realizes he's the modern day K9.
My heart goes out to me. It really does. And the fact that he comes out realization and kind of Sarah really kind of consoles him a bit. It's really lovely.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, the lovers' tiff between the Doctor and Rose, where they have the argument outside the cafe. He nearly says he loves her in that scene, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mentioned it before, but they are much more explicit about the romantic nature of the Doctor and Rose's relationship.
Yeah.
Although on one hand, can't help but feel a bit when they was like, "I live forever." It's hard to watch, people you care about grow old. A bit,
I suppose if he knows he's going to outlive them, that's a horrible thing. Like if someone said you're going to outlive your wife and you're going to watch her die, you're like, calm down.
Yeah, but if you really love them, wouldn't you want to take care of them and be there for them as they grow older, as opposed to just kind of drop them off when they,
I suppose. Yeah, use their Best Buy date. It's just like, oh yeah, you're on the turn.
I mean, I feel like the Doctor's mentality is probably the idea of they want their companions to have a life outside of just traveling with them. And so by only having a companion with them for a little bit, that gives them a chance to live a full life outside of a TARDIS.
Yeah, no, I
but
agree.
That being said, most, if not all, companions, well, not all, but most companions seem to quite vocally prefer the idea of just living a full life inside the TARDIS. So, I don't know.
What do you think to the mention of... The Doctor mentions a few times that he's seen Krillitane before, but he never has on TV, as far as I'm aware. I really did do some research, but this is the first time we've ever heard of Krillitane as an audience. I quite like the idea that we don't see every adventure that he goes on.
That's what Big Finish is for, isn't it?
Dude, that's probably what that reference is back to. As soon as they heard that, Nicholas Briggs went, get someone on the phone quick. Who's in charge of the Krillitane?
Face off against the big four-headed Krillitane.
Rose mentions Shireen. She hasn't mentioned her friend Shireen for a while. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. Rose's friend Shireen. Do you ever see Rose's friend Shireen?
We never do.
Big Finish. Get on it. The Adventures of Shireen.
We should write that. The Adventures of Shireen.
The Untold Adventures of Shireen.
There's a lot of similarities to the Fourth Doctor and the 10th Doctor that I brought up throughout this, I feel.
I mean, I know Tennant's favourite Doctor growing up was the Fourth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. What similarities did you pick up on?
Just like, obviously, the ones that are pointed out. And I also start to wonder now how much of those similarities are just similarities with the characters, where you could point out with all of them rather than just those two. But I know when I was. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's true. I think pretty much every Doctor has a tendency to over-explain things and then think their companions are a bit stupid for not getting it. Every Doctor is a little bit in love with their TARDIS console to a weird degree.
No, I agree. I know in the commentary, David was saying they were asking what was it like acting against K9 and acting with Elizabeth. Was it quite hard to sort of get those emotions right? And he said not really, because he already has like an emotional attachment to these characters from his childhood. So he just sort of had to sort of channel that rather than pretend he was acting, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah Jane in this episode, although I've admittedly never watched any of her Classic Who stories, she fits into the mold very naturally. And like in the scene where the Krillitane are trying to tempt the 10th Doctor, and the way that Sarah Jane's the one who talks him out of it, you can kind of tell why she's such a beloved companion.
Yeah.
Because they immediately is able to kind of offer that humanity to the Doctor, which I feel like is a really valuable asset in companions.
I really liked the fact that they use big, fast, speedy computer graphics so that they don't really have to explain the plot that much.
Yeah, that kind of back in the early 2000s where people didn't really know how computers worked, so you could just throw any fancy graphic and you'd buy it.
There you go. Oh, look at all those boxes. They're all spinning around. I love the idea that early 2000s could have just been a group of people going, the world's going to end. Why? Well, that little Windows thing one day is going to bounce in the corner of the square, and when it does, everybody's going to lose their shit.
I mean, let's be real, all those computers are just showing the screensavers. Those are just screensavers.
Yeah, aren't they? That's what I thought. I'd love it if just one in the background was just those pipes.
Micky's like, how you stop it? Wait a minute. He like moves the mouse a bit and just the Windows XP desktop appears.
I really like the scene where Mickey stops it because he just looks at the wire and looks at the plug and just pulls it out. That's all he does. And he's like, oh, it's easy, this.
It's great.
I really like that. I also like the scene with Mickey and K9 where K9's repetitively telling him he's in a car.
We are in the car.
We are in a car. A lot of this episode, I remember the dialogue from because I used to have a K9 toy. And obviously all of the quotes that toy said are from this episode. So stuff like maximum defense mode, affirmative, and, you know, we are in a car, battery running low, all that stuff.
So even though they had like all of Classic Who to grab lines from, they just used School Reunion.
What do you mean, sorry?
This toy you had, like they could have, you know, pulled lines from like loads of episodes of Classic Who, and they just used this one new Who episode.
I think maybe also because K9's voice is slightly different. It's not all that different, but if you go back to like his very first appearance, you're like, oh my god.
Right.
K9 basically saves the day until he dies at the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does. And then is he just fit? Is it a new model at the end, or is he?
Well, my understanding is it's the same model. The Doctor just fixes him. Now, there's a fun story about this. Is that wasn't even in the script. The script said K9 died and Sarah walked off on her own. That was it. But what they did was the night before, they thought, nah, K9, we have to bring K9 back. So what they did, that prop that you see at the end behind the TARDIS, is the original K9 from the original classic series. And the night before, they phoned up the person who had it and said, do you still have it? And he went, yeah. They went, can you drive down to Swansea tonight and be here for like 3 p.m. because we need the prop? And he went, yeah.
That's incredible.
So it's the original prop, playing the new version, a restored new version of the old one.
That's great. I didn't even notice that. That must be the version that they had for that episode, which has been a pretty faithful recreation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny gets a lot of praise at the end of this for blowing up the school. Do you think he turned to a life of crime for this?
Is that your headcanon?
Yeah. Afterwards, yeah, he was. He never got any recognition in his life back from the time he blew up the school, and he was constantly trying to clamber for that high.
Big Finish, got a villain for you.
You know, like Adam Mitchell when he went nuts. You could just swap it out.
We need more just like one-time characters and psychics becoming, well, villains, heroes. Like I feel like it's like how like in Star Wars every single like character in the cantina has like an extensive backstory.
Yeah.
Let's do that with Doctor Who. Why not? Doctor Who is already like balls to the wall crazy. Let's just give everyone a super crazy story.
Pick up on the "you've redecorated" line.
Yeah.
I never noticed.
Which is weird.
Before.
That was in classic Who. That was a line that Troughton's doctor said.
Yeah.
So it's a weird considering Sarah Jane was never the companion to Troughton.
But Clara says it as well at one point. I feel like it's just a throwaway line now that people say.
It's just kind of a catch-all for every doctor now.
Yeah. I'm running out of notes
I
here.
think it's a nice.
Go on. Sorry.
I think it's a nice touch that in that final scene in the TARDIS, it's Rose who invites Sarah to kind of come with them. It's kind of a nice show of her growth. Because obviously, I've said like a lot of people say like the way she treats Sarah Jane is why a lot of kind of non-fans of Rose dislike her. But I feel like within the episode, there's enough growth from her, which is kind of displayed there.
It's strange.
For me, it's like I still, right?
Yeah, it's strange that she would happily have Sarah on board, but not Mickey.
I guess because like she's kind of grown fond of Sarah, and whereas Mickey is, I don't know, just Mickey to Rose. I guess you can't really make. I guess you can't really make fun of the Doctor in the same way. Or like if she was to make fun of the Doctor with Mickey, Mickey would like misread that as her making signals. Maybe it just isn't about that.
This was only David Tennant's second episode that he ever filmed. He did Christmas Invasion and then into this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He
feels very... I wouldn't tell because he feels very comfortable in the role already.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is to do with the fact that Elizabeth Sladen's there, and it's that sort of being able to rely on stuff that you already know, if you see what I mean.
Perhaps that was kind of like a good, easy way in to kind of be with people who've literally been involved in the show for years.
I really liked that the episode sort of works. If you're a Classic Who fan, you side with the Doctor and his excitement to see Sarah. If you're new Who, like us, and was seeing it for the first time, you sort of side with Rose because you don't really know who this new person is who's just showing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one.
So go on.
I can't remember the point I was going to make. I'm not going to lie. I just had a brain fart.
I'm just going through. I've gone through all my notes. I've got 3 pages of notes here. It's the most notes I've ever made for any episode we've ever done.
Really?
Bent through them all. Would you like to do a quiz?
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Okay, let's do a quiz.
Okay. Okay, I've got 2 questions. I normally would have 3. I've wrote the answer down for... Oh, no. Okay, no. No, we'll do 3 questions. Okay. How many times does the Doctor say physics?
7.
11.
It rhymes. Close enough. Half point.
What are the 2 alternatives that the Doctor calls Mickey, Sarah, and Rose instead of calling them team?
Is it Anne?
That's one of them. There's another one.
Is it pals?
Oh, it's comrades. I'll give you half a point.
That was a very gave me real kind of Jodie vibes. That whole bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. When we first see K9 in the back of the car, what mark is he?
What mark is he?
Yeah, like what incarnation is he?
He Mark II?
Mark III. You got half a point.
A 7 because it rhymed to 11.
No, you got half a point for getting gang.
Oh, okay.
You got half a point out of 3. I think that's not the worst you've ever done.
It's not the worst, that speaks volumes.
So what do you think of the episode? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I think it's a really lovely episode. Nice trip down memory lane. It's a nice little exploration of kind of like the Doctor and his relationship with his companions. There's a lot going for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Rose is that.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm just going to say, like, lots of people would mark this down for how Rose behaves and reacts, but she really isn't that bad.
I think it's really good. It's been one of my favourites that we've seen of this series.
Definitely.
Do you have some stuff you'd like to recommend?
Before I go, I just want to tell you were fantastic.
Ooh, recommendations.
I know, I didn't think of it either. I'm quickly going through my head. I'll tell you what I'll recommend. I'll go first for a change. Oh, could I don't know if I've already recommended that. Have I recommended John Cleese's book on creativity?
Maybe. I've seen you recommend it online, but I don't know if you recommend it
I might not.
show.
I won't do it then. Okay, what I will recommend then is I'll recommend the TV series Impractical Jokers. I've been watching
It's good.
I've been watching a lot of it in lockdown. I'm about to come out of isolation very shortly in the next few days. I've been watching a lot of it whilst I've been cooped up inside. It's just a great fun, and it's just stupid fun stuff to watch.
Yeah, and Practical Jokers is great. 4 really funny guys, and just the stuff they make each other do. I love like the presentation ones they do.
Yes,
they have, like, a PowerPoint. The team has made it.
Yeah, no, they're fun. What are you recommending, Harry?
Okay. What am I going to recommend? I'm like looking at my room as if there's something in my room to recommend. I'm not going to recommend the Oxford paperback dictionary of Thesaurus.
Have you watched anything on YouTube that you'd like to recommend?
Oh, a YouTube channel. That's a good one. That's a good idea. Give me a second.
Oh, Harry, you're letting everybody down.
I'm sorry, I haven't prepared for this.
On that Doctor Who quiz we did for the for the anniversary, someone in the comments said, "I did better than your co-host. Can I now be the host of the podcast?"
To be fair, like, I'm a shoddy co-host. They can.
Well, can you think of anything you'd like to recommend, or should we swiftly move on?
Let's just move on.
Swiftly move on. Okay, let's wrap this one up. We just did School Reunion, a really fun episode. If you'd like to tell us what you think of the episode, you can follow us on Twitter at Bigger on the Pod, YouTube Bigger on the Inside Podcast, acastshows.com, shows.acast.com/Bigger on the Inside. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. We're also on Instagram, so go over to Instagram. Instagram's fun. Get a lot of people talking on there. A few comments, a lot of polls going on. That's good fun. And
the Instagram page is essentially a meme page. Like, when
it is a bit at the moment, yeah.
Doctor Who meet a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I dig them.
Send us an email, biggeronintheInsidePod@gmail.com, and we'll read them out on the show when we get them. Do bear in mind, though, that the shows are often... Oh, no, that's going to be no good now, is it, the email? Because these go out, like, super early. Or we can read them out earlier in the episodes when we do the pre-recorded bit with the news.
Absolutely, yeah.
So send us your emails, but it might be a few episodes before you actually hear them read out. So bear that in mind. We're not ignoring you.
I love it when we get emails. Like, emails make me happy.
That one email we got.
That one email, that was the best. It was a shame that you then had to re-record the episode.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. I'll say goodbye. Bye-bye. Harry, do you want to say bye?
Bye-bye.